Well, I wrote this petition because I think this sick practice, first of all, has to be stopped. I know a lot of wrestling fans are going to disagree with me, and frankly, there's going to be a lot of wrestlers who disagree with me, saying that this is a long-time tradition, this is a part of wrestling, it's always been done this way, and it should continue. And that's where I question, if these people are really wrestling fans, and frankly, why the wrestlers are doing this. It was a few years back, Vince McMahon came out and said that professional wrestling is entertainment, so we know it's not real. And for the most part, everybody could look up on the internet, whether it's Wikipedia or many of these wrestling websites, how this practice is done, how to induce bleeding is done. They call it juicing or gigging in the business. And so everyone knows how it's done. So I can't understand why this is still necessary, as dangerous as it is, why this is still necessary in a means of entertainment that Vince McMahon came out and said it's not real. The reason why he did this was because he wanted to get all the athletic commissions off his back, so he wouldn't have to pay that tax in those states that required it. And again, the reason why this petition is out there, it's because I think there's a social problem today. Young kids, whether it's they have emotional problems or whatever it is, they're inflicting injuries to themselves. They call themselves EMO or cutters, and they use glass. They could use a piece of metal. They could use razor blades, knives, and they're actually cutting themselves.
It's a fashion that has turned deadly. Emo, it started out as a type of music and has warped into a lifestyle.
I see it as people who are expressing their pain through their actions, whether it be cutting, writing, lyrics, music. It's their expression, and I don't think we understand it because we don't have that pain, we don't have those imbalances.
It's a group of people, they're very short for emotional, and so I know that some of them cut themselves and that they like to wear tight clothes.
It's becoming almost popular within the small group of what I think are emotionally distraught kids. So, when the WWE or ECW, when they have pay-per-view events that actually glorify blood, calling it First Blood match or, stuff like that, hardcore, and when they do cages, when they wrestle in a cage, and everyone who goes to these events, they go there with the expectation of seeing blood. So, and knowing how this is done, in something that's just a show, I think there's something very, very intrinsically wrong with that. Well, first of all, with the petition letter, I'm looking to just get. I want to raise everyone's consciousness about this issue. It's not talked about often enough, and very few people are making the connection between professional wrestling and, like what I said earlier about this social issue. I think it's important that parents pay a little bit more attention to their kids, and not only what they're doing, but also what they're watching on television. I think a lot of these kids are out there, they're trying to replicate what professional wrestlers do. There's a popular thing happening right now. It's been going on for a while, backyard wrestling, where, these kids are actually cutting themselves. They're doing the very, very dangerous moves.
As he's going through that, I can detect it.
I can too. Oh! Got that shit in his hand.
And the razor wire got him too.
Young kids see this, and they're doing it in their backyard. So, should the parents be more involved? Of course. Or are they? They're not. And if I could bring awareness, right, some kind of social awareness, and I could see the association with this, because these young kids are looking up to these wrestlers as heroes, as celebrities, as superstars, and they're going to copy. They want to be like them when they grow up. Role models, no, but sadly enough, these kids want to grow up and they're going to want to be like these guys, and they're going to do what they do. Maybe thinking that someday they're going to become a professional wrestler. So yeah, I think there has to be some kind of social awareness to all of this. So the person who's going to have to do something about this, it'll be Vince McMahon. I like to tell people, make a little analogy, and let's say I'm hired as an actor, right? I'm going to go do a TV show, and I'm going to play a police officer or something, and I get into a fight with a gangster or, a street thug, and as I'm portraying this police officer, the thug hits me, and I hit the floor, hit the sidewalk, I cut my head. This is what the scene requires. Now the director comes up to me and says, well, you're going to bleed for this scene, and I'll, fine, go get me the makeup artist and or the special effects guy, and let's do the scene, right? And he says no. The director comes up to me and says, I want you to tape a little piece of razor blade to your finger, and then when the thug or the criminal hits you, and then you hit the floor, I want you to slice your forehead, and then it'll be real blood. Now, if I was doing this for a TV show, and the AFTRA union was there, they'd come in and they'd close the job down and they would fire this director, and he would never be hired again. If I was doing it for a major motion picture, I was in Die Hard 3, and let's say John McTiernan comes up to me and says, hey, after I was like in a green pickup truck, it flips over, I want blood in this scene, and I want you to cut your forehead, right? I want you to take a piece of razor blade, cut your forehead, because I want real blood. Screen Actors Guild, the SAG union would come in, they'd stop the job, right? They'd shut it down, and they would fire this McTiernan, and he would never work again. But why is this practice allowed and condoned in professional wrestling? Why does Vince, or for that matter, anybody who's the promoter, why is he able to go up to a guy and say, listen, whether it's for TV, whether it's for a movie, whether it's for a live show, why is that guy allowed to go up to somebody and say, I want you to cut yourself tonight because I want blood? In any other industry, the job would be shut down, and that director would never, or that promoter, or whatever you want to call the sick bastard, that guy would never work again. In wrestling, it's allowed, and there's something very wrong with that. If Vince McMahon doesn't stop this, yeah, I could do more YouTube videos. I don't know what that's going to do. Perhaps parents will see this. I'm currently sending out my petition to newspapers. I don't think this ought to be just limited to just wrestling websites. And I'm sending this out to television shows, hoping that they raise the consciousness of people, and parents do something. Parents do something about this, whether they boycott the WWE or they especially should stop this backyard wrestling if these parents know what's going on. But let's say nothing's done. Let's say there are a lot of things happening with today's kids, and parents for some reason turn a blind eye, or they ignore it, or they just don't want to see or think that their kids are involved with this stuff. Then yeah, I'll go to Congress. I could write a letter and make them aware of this. And no, I don't think the government should always get involved in everyone's personal or private lives. But I think this is something where if parents are not doing something about this, again, I know people are going to say this is a long-time tradition in wrestling, and I'm not going to stop it. But you know what? Perhaps Congress can. And that's if Vince doesn't do anything. I think politicians will look at this and say, there is something intrinsically wrong with this. There's almost something perverted or sick about this, and for them to get involved and to put an end to this, legislate law.